as Elliot said, I'm here to sort of give you an intro on Google Cloud Platform. First, how many of you have used Google Cloud Platform like at all? Okay. How many of you have used it in anger, i.e. in production? Okay. So, yeah, it's whenever I come to these things, I always hear AWS, I always hear Azure, and I guess until I started prepping for this presentation, I didn't know sort of the swing on users. So if I remember correctly, AWS has something like 40% of the cloud business. Azure has something like 8%, and GCP has like 4.5%. And then it's like Rackspace and IBM and a bunch of other players. But the top three, AWS, Azure, and GCP. And I guess I should probably say something about myself. My name, as Elliot said, I'm Thomas Derek, KCZPQ on. I'm an amateur radio operator. That's where my handle comes from on Twitter.
So the question is, are you going to see it?
What? Am I? I'm not. Okay. Okay. Thanks. I am sort of an SRE right now. It's sort of the hat I wear, but I play across all the fields and do all the things. I have my own company, Medora Productions, just sort of like to contract out to do work, and it sort of gives me the hat to play under when I need to try various things. It's actually really convenient when I can say, buy a new piece of technology and use it for Medora Productions towards something, and suddenly it becomes tax deductible. My tax person says it's all right. And like, I called myself a cloud native just because like I play in the cloud a little bit too much. Not since college have I actually been able to walk up and touch, like lay hands on the hardware I was dealing with. So like I've been just in a working with, on other people's metal, if you will. So let's see, I'm going to give an intro on GCP. I'm going to give I'm just going to walk through like the products, the tech, and the terms, just because like everyone, whenever you're stepping into a new platform, you need a roadmap. You need to know what you're looking at before you can actually dive into it. And then I'm going to actually show one or two demos. I promised an app that touches a couple of things and actually uses them. It seems to work all right as of this afternoon. So we'll go through and I'll show you what that looks like and what the, sort of like the deployed pipeline on that whole thing looks like. And then I'll hopefully have time for questions. So first of all, I should have pulled those things off that slide. So GCP, first of all, because we had, yeah, that face right there, the look of surprise. GCP actually has, I'm bringing this up because previous talk was on compliance in AWS, and GCP actually has, these are just a couple of the ones I picked up. Obviously, they give you the tools to be compliant with GDPR. They are, from an infrastructure perspective, FedRAMP moderate certified. They're HIPAA certified, US Data Shield certified, and PCI DSS compliant. And this is just 5 of like the 40 or 50 badges they had on their compliance page. Obviously, it doesn't cover all products they have, but it covers most of the products. Like each, if you go to their compliance page, they have a list of these products are compliant with this regulation and this thing. And yeah, even I was a little surprised they were FedRAMP moderate, but I confirmed that with the, there's like marketplace.fedramp.gov or something like that. And they confirmed from a government perspective that GCP is FedRAMP compliant. So I'm going to say GCP a lot just because Google Cloud Platform is a mouthful. And also I sort of, I did work at Google for a time, so I got really used to working with the cloud people, and cloud and GCP, just like you throw those things out, you talk about them with the people that work on them all the time, you're gonna just say things that are really quick. Like I said, it's Google's cloud offering. It's very versatile, and it's actually very fast. And I'm actually just going to show you how fast. So I'm going to step into my project and say I want a VM instance. For that, you go to Compute Engine, either via the dash. Sorry, I should actually just show you. So this is the dashboard. You can set up whatever you want as far as like what info panes and stuff. Over here, you'll see it gives like your commonly used resources are just right there. If you click on any of these things, it'll actually pump you through into like the actual dashboard for that product. They have tracing. I haven't been able to set that up for this, but it gives you sort of like if your users hit a certain code path, it'll actually like do a full trace through all your services and track your call trace and actually give you back like the amount of time you spend in each method, the amount of time you spend in each system call. It's actually really cool. You can set up, you can have some graphs, just like this is just the CPU usage on my like compute instances. One thing I have found really nice is like I know on AWS, if you have an outage, you got to go to status.aws.amazon.com, and it's always kind of behind and whatever. Google, they're pretty quick about letting you know if something's wrong, and it shows up right there. Like this will say like we are having an outage with Google Storage, and it'll give you a short summary, and then you click through to the full breakdown of like what's going on and what they're doing to fix it. It gives you your billing summary right there. Error reporting, that's actually, I'll show you that, it's actually really neat. It gives you like these common errors have showed up and when and where, and you click through to the logs. So when I was saying fast, I've heard on AWS and Azure, like if you need an instance, you kind of have to, you need a little bit of time. I don't know, 5-10 minutes. You click through, you make it happen, you hit go, and it's stuck in pre-provisioning for forever. So I'm going to create an instance. We'll call it instance 1, just whatever region we want. I'm going to pick Iowa, Central, U.S. Central 1, and we're going to give it, I don't know, let's go custom. I don't know, 28 CPUs, 100. Okay. Okay. The lowest one?
The free option, the dirt cheap free one.
Okay. I'll go with the F1 Micro then.
That's right.
The tiny one. And then, I don't know, I'll pick, they give you like your selection of starting images. So they've got Debian, they've got CentOS, and the CentOS alpha and beta channels, as well as the stable channel. The last 3 LTS versions of Ubuntu, as well as 17.10, and then a couple of container optimized stuff, some Red Hat instances, SUSE Linux, and yes, Windows Server. As an aside, when you select Windows Server, they actually build the licensing into the per minute cost. So you don't have to deal with licensing. You just click the instance, and it takes care of it for you.
Hey, can everyone see?
Does it need to be a little bigger?
Zoom in would be great.
What
Okay.
I'm saying is, though, ironically, in Azure, the license of Windows is not built in.
Huh. So I'm just going to pick an Ubuntu 1804 LTS. I don't know, we'll give it standard service access, and then I'll allow HTTP and HTTPS. This adds little firewall tags to open up port 80 and 433 to the world. Otherwise, they wouldn't be open. And then you can dive through to other stuff on like tagging and additional disks and additional network interfaces and your own custom SSH keys. But let's just hit create. Now, as it's spinning and creating, you have told it to create an instance, and it's just creating a tiny little instance, and we're done. It's already there. Click SSH. I'm opening up a window to SSH into that instance. It's setting up SSH keys right now. And once it comes up, establishing connection. Sometimes connecting via SSH is slower than actually provisioning the instance, but it's network congestion and all that. Come on, there we go. SSH in your browser, right to the client, whatever it is, and I mean, it's an instance. It's right there. You've got it. Let's back out of that for now. So the way you navigate through GCP is they just, you go to the console and you just have a list of products, and it just keeps going. I think they have something like 54, 55 sub-products under Google Cloud, and this is everything from their IoT core offerings to their AI offerings, their data flow, PubSub, BigQuery. I guess I'll start at the top. They have Cloud Launcher, which if you need a pre-built instance, like you need a WordPress instance, click here. It'll launch an instance with WordPress already built in. It'll give you a link to the admin console with credentials. You click it, you log in, WordPress right there, straight for you. We've got all sorts of stuff like, let's go under networking. They've got F5 load balancing instances. They've got Barracuda firewall instances ready to roll. They've put a lot of thought into making sure you have what you need quickly. I've heard it described as AWS gives you all the pieces and you fire them together. Google Cloud just gives you the finished pie. Obviously, billing, the way you deal with, so you have all your APIs and services to access the various things. So like their image recognition APIs, their vocal recognition APIs. They have a video tagging thing where you send it a video and it'll give you tags and time codes of what showed up when, which is really cool. Access to support right at the top. The way you deal with users. You can create all sorts of service accounts, and then if you need to give them, say I needed to give my cloud building instance, I'll show cloud building in a second. If I need to give my cloud building user, access to billing for whatever reason. Hey, look, it's a project billing manager now. It's that quick. Should actually pull that out because I don't know what that. Oh, right there. Yeah. And this is keeping a running tally of notifications of long-term stuff. Let's see. Quotas. This is something I actually ran into recently. They say they give you quota. I mean, they give you quotas, and it's mostly just to keep you from hurting yourself, or in case your account was breached for whatever reason, and that whoever it is spinning up 1,000 instances. They can't because CPUs by default in each region you're limited to 72. It's really easy to get the quotas changed. They have an you hit edit quotas and then you select whatever quotas you want to edit, and then it goes off to a person, and the person clicks OK. It takes, I think the last time I needed to change it, it took a couple of hours. So it just gives you enough buffer so that if you're planning ahead, click, 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 go, and you get an approval, but it also keeps you from accidentally auto-scaling yourself into $1 million bill. unless that is what you need, in which case I hope you have the budget for it. Um, there's all sorts of stuff like content-aware proxies, where you can put your product behind a proxy and then assign roles via the via the identity management stuff, and it'll just give access to the people that need access to it, or who you've added in groups. Like say you have an internal timekeeping thing where people like go in and put their hours. You could add all of your employees to a group under IAM and say only members of employees at bluemedora.com get access to this thing. And then when they try to go to the timekeeping thing, it'll show up, like it'll land at an auth wall, and then you log in with your at bluemedora.com account, and it lets you in if you're in the group. Past that, there's App Engine, which is one of their serverless offerings. I have one instance out there right now. It doesn't do a whole lot, but I'll actually step into this more in a second when we get to the walkthrough of the service I wrote for this. Like I said, under Compute Engine, you've got all your VM instances. Like I showed before, this project only has 2. You can create groups of instances. So like they all need to be 4 CPU, 32 gigs of RAM with 3 network interfaces. And then you create a group of that and just say, I need 7 of them. You click go and it does it. And then later you can come in when you need 20 of them. You change 7 to 20 and go, and it gives you more of them. Groups are also where you do your auto-scaling things, so you can set up thresholds on CPU or RAM or storage or whatever, and tell it, if it gets over this threshold, add more instances, and then it'll just add more to the group when it hits that point. And you can also have like a scaled down threshold where like CPU goes back to idle at 10% or something. It'll start winding things back. Yeah.
Are there APIs for those triggers as well?
There are, yes. Actually, I should mention that everything you see in here has an API call. Like when I was creating an instance, where is it? Down here, you walk through the wizard and then you click equivalent REST thing, and it gives you the JSON and the endpoint, or it gives you the JSON you need to post to an endpoint, and you can do that all programmatically. Oh yeah, and command line, that's the gcloud equivalent. So gcloud is their command line tool. I know it works in Linux and Mac. I assume they have a Windows equivalent. I've just not used it. But yeah, it gives you all of that. And I should point that out. So run in Cloud Shell. Another nice thing is they give you it behind the scenes. It's a tiny instance. It's kind of like the F1 Micro, where it has a tiny amount of CPU and a tiny amount of RAM and about probably 5 gigs of storage, but it's persistent. So anytime you need to access just a shell, just to poke at things, just to do whatever, you don't need to connect to an instance. You click up here, or you click run in, or you click the run in Cloud Shell, and it just launches this. And it's free. You get, like I said, about 5 gigs of storage to just store whatever you want in your home directory. Like I've got some project files in here and just random other stuff. And it's a convenient little it's there when you need it, and it's not when you don't.
So it's associated with your user login and not with any particular group or instance?
Right, it's associated with your account. And from the looks of it, it was actually associated with, that one was associated with my account, and it didn't pay attention to what project I was in. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, there's just a lot of stuff, and I'm hoping feel free to throw out any questions if you've got them, because like there's a lot of stuff. I know a guy that does talk about all the products in a 50-minute talk, and he just slams through it too. So Kubernetes is short version is it's a container management or container orchestration tool. This is their hosted offering, which I've found to be really easy. Like, you tell it what kind of instances you want, you click go, and a couple minutes later you've got a fully functional Kubernetes cluster to do with what you wish. Yeah, I've not actually tried that, but I've heard it's painful. Ouch. Also, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. So this also, they've integrated with Cloud Console to give you like what services are running. So like I went into, or what like replication controllers and everything are running. Actually, these are pods. No, they are replication controllers. And it's just a list of like what's running, what services are there. Click through and you can see like what tag, what it's been used at, or like what its usage is. How many restarts. Like they've integrated most of the, or a lot of the Kubernetes console tools into Cloud Console, just because they have the visibility to Kubernetes does all these things and we can pull them in for you. I'm going to switch back to my talks project, just so I don't accidentally run across any problems. Cloud Functions, that's another of their serverless offerings. It gives you, like, I think it's written in JavaScript, maybe more specifically Node. You put stuff in there, and it just gives you an endpoint. And you can have your apps or whatever hit those endpoints, and it'll scale up when you need stuff, scale down when you don't. It's charged on a per usage basis, not like a time, not like number of instances or anything. Bigtable is like their large-scale data store, or one of their large-scale data stores. You just put gobs and gobs of stuff, and you can run queries across it. Data store is their NoSQL offering. Storage, or actually, sorry, they also have Cloud SQL, which is Postgres or MySQL, based on whatever you want. Storage, getting this a little bit more, but it's blob store. It's basically S3. Networking, you get all sorts of, you can set up independent networks inside. You manage your like whatever static or ephemeral IP addresses you want for your instances. You can set up firewall rules, routes. Network services, you set up, they have a level 7, I believe, load balancer offering. So you can put a bunch of your services behind this load balancer, give it specific configurations and health checks, and it's a managed load balancer. It takes a lot of the pain off of that. Cloud DNS, it's a DNS offering. CDN, it's just like the name, it's a CDN. Hybrid connectivity, they have a VPN ability for you to, if you've got a VPN, if you want to set up like half of your stuff is on-prem, half in the cloud, you can have a VPN endpoint or VPN server endpoint, VPN server at your on-prem, and then just give Google Cloud an access into that, and it'll join up and be connected. Interconnect is kind of a cool one. If you have, say, fiber, like you have an organization that has dedicated fiber lines and you want to connect directly to Google Cloud, this is how you peer with Google Cloud. You set up an offering in here, or you set up in here, and then you'll get in contact with one of their people, and they'll set up where you can come to a Meet Me room and directly peer with Google. And then network security, all your policies and management. Monitoring. Actually, I'm going to swap projects. Hey. Because this one's more cool. Um, so a while ago, Google bought a company called Stackdriver. No, not that. That's not what I wanted. I wanted... Which we have. Yeah, there we go. They bought a company called Stackdriver, and it was a monitoring. Their main product was a monitoring product. So you can set up. This isn't the dashboard I normally like. Dashboards, K-cluster. So you can set up whatever dashboards you want. You can look at metrics. Like I've got CPU usage broken out by, this one's broken, actually all of these are broken out by node. So you can see the usage of the various nodes, their inbound and outbound traffic, their read I/O. This is read I/O and write I/O. And yeah. You can set uptime checks. And it's literally just it'll ping your server every so often, and it'll hit it from 5 different sites. I have noticed this product is a little flaky. It tends to freak out a little more than it should. For one of our instances, we actually had to turn it off just because it was just noisy. It'd say, "Hey, your thing is down," and we go check, and it wasn't. And it ended up being, I think we tracked it down to the Sao Paulo instance. They've got a cluster in Sao Paulo, and it just wasn't connecting to our instance for whatever reason. But we were able, I think someone checked via VPN and could actually get to our site, so it might have just been a flaky instance. Mostly to point out, I'm not completely shilling for Google. Some of their stuff is broken, but most of it is actually quite nice. You can set up all sorts of alerting policies, and then it'll hit like your PagerDuty configurations, or it'll hit directly to your cell phone, or to Slack, or email, or whatever. Let's see. Yeah, we already been there. Let's see, under debug, we don't have anything hooked up for this, but this is a live debugging tool. You've got code running in production, and you can't just set a breakpoint because someone's query is going to hang while you're clicking through it. This sets up, I forget what they call it, but it's sort of it's not a breakpoint, but it's like a notification point. What is that? Yeah. It'll flag it for you to look at everything that's going on at that point in time, with all your local variables and everything. And you can actually import your source repositories. So, like, I don't know, if you've got if you've got something like this, and you're going to see some problems. Oh yeah, I haven't hooked it up to Google App Engine, but yeah, you can. It'll just like show you where in the code things are happening and what it looks like. Like I said earlier, trace will show stack trace of what's going on, how much time a call is spending, and it's based on sampling. So you set it up for various endpoints, and it'll only collect a sample. I think you can customize the threshold, but like 5% or whatever of the calls to that, because tracing is going to be heavy. It's going to slow stuff down, so you don't want that happening for all of your queries. Logging is kind of cool. It'll show you. Sorry, I keep bouncing back and forth between projects. It's a log output of what's going on. So you can have it. This is our Google Kubernetes engine setup. This is the production setup. And I can select I only want stuff from, I don't know, Nginx. That'll be mostly access logs. And you can see there's this, yeah, that's a scraping bot. You can see bots show up in your logs. Got health checks and all sorts of stuff.
So it says right.
Okay.
So if you find a good spot to stop, then grab pizza while it's still hot.
Okay. Yeah. About 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and like this is, I don't know, it's a nice log viewer because it breaks out each entry and you can see where it came from as far as like what service, what namespace. You can see like obviously the payload when it came in, all that fun stuff. You can also set up out exports. So say like we've got a elk stack, Kibana dashboard with Logstash and everything. We actually sync everything out of this into there so we can get pretty graphs and everything. And we can do sometimes more of a deep dive and more of an archival search. See, error reporting, this is cool. Sorry, you've got a list of like, these errors have occurred and where they've occurred and last time you've seen them and when we first saw them. And you can dig in and see like a graph of occurrence, what the common stack trace or what the common error is. And then if you want to pick a specific instance, you can click through and it'll pull it up in the logs. And so you can also get context of what's going on around it. And then okay, so container registry is where you dump all your containers. They actually have a cloud builder set up, so there's a lot of build triggers on that project. You set up a build trigger, so right now it watches my code repository and what? Yeah. Actually, it watches both GitHub and a cloud code repository. And whenever there's a new push, it'll just bring it in. You specify what you want it to do in a cloud build file, and then it just does it, dumps it out into containers. Yeah?
So is this outside Kubernetes cluster or?
Sorry, this is independent of Kubernetes cluster.
Okay, so this is more like a container, independent Docker container service.
Yeah, it'll just build your Docker containers, and then like in my demo, I use it to populate App Engine. Yeah, it's not as versatile as Jenkins, not nearly as versatile, but you tell it what you want to do, and like you can specify specific steps, and it'll walk through that up to and including, I don't know, bash commands. Like I said, they've got a source repo, so you set up repos in here, and then you can just walk through. This one actually mirrors from my GitHub repo into Google Cloud. Deployment managers, those are the launchers from before. Endpoints, this is integrated with the Cloud Functions thing, so this will show you where your endpoints are, how to access them, and metrics on that. And then all of their like big data stuff, so their pub sub setups, BigQuery like we had before. I'm not as familiar with like Dataproc, Dataflow. Their machine learning stuff, IoT, Core. Composer, they launched this Tuesday. It's Apache Kafka. It's a workflow thing. You set up your workflows using the Apache, using config files from, I'm not sure it's Kafka, but it's one of those. It'll probably tell me. Oh, Apache Airflow. Yeah, so you set up your workflows with that, and it just does it. And then they've got some like genomic specific stuff in data prep. Oh yeah, sorry. Machine learning, jobs and models. So you build your models, and then you can run jobs against that. Yeah.
It's all Google native. Any marketplace here?
Sorry, what was that?
Marketplace like where third-party components being sold and integrated.
The third-party stuff mostly shows up via the cloud launcher. So like, there's only, I don't know, 15 or 20 things that are actually like up here from Google. Some of the stuff is like, I don't know, this one's from SAP, this one's from Nginx Incorporated. Yeah, that's where products show up in there. Yeah.
So on here, the virtual machine versus Google Cloud Platform, that's their differentiator for PaaS and IaaS.
Yeah, that's their like specific things like load balancers and firewalls and Redis instances and stuff like that. That's sort of their pre-built VM stuff.
Thomas, we should probably call it
Yeah.
right now.
We should call a break for pizza. Thank you to Mike. Thanks to Elliot. And just to plug something that Elliot's going to talk about later, he was saying there are a bunch of experts in the room. You all know a thing, so you can all give a talk on a thing. You know how I know that? I'm up here talking about a thing. So just to get back into this, I just wanted to show you a demo of my relatively hastily written usage of some of this stuff. So I wrote a little, call it test tube. It's a tiny little video platform, and this is what it looks like. I'm a back-end engineer. Hi. So this is actually it's written. Ignore the big banner that popped up yesterday, and it's a dependency I'm not using, but I haven't had a chance to get rid of it yet. Let's see. What were we at on here? Plus 150. Okay. All right. So this is an app that I'm going to put a link at the end of this. I have a link at the end of the slides. All of you can look at it if you want. And it's got really two things that are here of actual note. There's an Nginx instance, so there's a load balancer with route configs. And then there's a tiny little Sinatra app that actually does like the heavy lifting. I wanted to show using Google Storage and Google SQL, or Google Cloud SQL, what it sort of looked like to use them. So like one thing that the app obviously lets you do is upload a thing. No, pick a thing. And that's uploading. So what it's actually doing is it's pulling all this stuff out, and then it's actually uploading the video. It'll pull the file in, and then it uploads it to GCS, and actually uploading it to GCS Google Cloud Storage. Actually uploading it looks like this. You set up the client, you get your bucket. So much like S3, Google Cloud Storage is separated into buckets. You have your buckets, and then it's basically a file system from there on. And I'm putting this into Derek intro to GCP, and then I'm just creating the file and literally actually uploading the file is one line, bucket.create file, and then you tell it where it is on your local and where you want it in cloud storage, and up it goes. And then for this app, I'm actually serving the videos out of GCS directly. I'm not serving it from my infrastructure or from my infrastructure, my instances. Yeah. So one line, I'm telling it the file needs to be public, so set the access list, and then it actually pulls the video link back down. So like file.public URL gives you the publicly accessible URL. And actually, that looks like the actual URL looks like this: storage.googleapis.com/whatever your project or /whatever your bucket name is, and then from here on is actually your like where it is within the bucket. It just exposes it as part of the file system. They also have authenticated links where you can send out a link and then they have to be logged in to use that link. I didn't use that for this example, but yeah. So something as simple as this the home page. Sorry. So it does the upload and then it stores it, and I'm interacting with Google Cloud SQL as a normal SQL server. I'm using MySQL 2. It's a Ruby library to interact with it, and I'm using just plain MySQL in this case because I have it set up to do MySQL as opposed to Postgres. And I mean literally, you just interact with it as if it was a SQL server. You can, like, if we dive into that for go in and like, this is the server. Like it has 14 days is not going to be helpful because I created this 3 days ago. It has like all sorts of stats for this little dashboard. You can connect to it. Like you can connect to it directly via the Cloud Shell. So if I click that, it would pop up it would bring the Cloud Shell back up, and you'd have a MySQL interface to just run queries directly. You can manage all your SQL users via this interface. You manage your databases via this interface. You can whitelist IP addresses. By default, it's blacklist, so you can't get to it. I've whitelisted a couple of external IP addresses. And you can set SSL. It has an automatic backup setup, so it'll just do timed backups. And then literally, if something's, or you can go in and mash create backup, and then restore. That easy. Like, and then you can have it set replicas, like a failover replica or just a read replica, and it'll take care of all the hard work for you. And then just there's a log of this. And actually, that should be mentioned. If you're heavy into like a compliance environment where you need to log all of your operations activity and all of the things that occur from like a user perspective, like I, as an ops person, have been doing these things, all of that is exposed via the log viewer. They have all sorts of operations logs, like who's done, what users have done what to what instances, when they've connected, if they've turned on or off, if they listed a reason for turning something off. They're very good about giving you all that information. But yeah, this demo is quick and easy, and you can look at it if you want. But actually interacting with the services under the hood isn't that painful at all. I have this also running on. So like I said, I have it running on my instance. So what I've got it doing is, like I said, let's see. So I have it set up in source repos, and it just watches my GitHub and syncs in changes whenever there are changes. And whenever there are changes, I have a build trigger set up in here to build things, and it'll actually like show you, like, this is the build history. So you actually go in and break out the steps of, like, this is where I decrypted my secret. Oh yeah, they have a key management service. In the GitHub repo, I actually have some of my keys in an encrypted format. And during the cloud building stage, I have a step that says decrypt these using this key from this secret container. And I've granted the builder access to KMS, so it has access to the keys, and it can pull it down and decrypt everything. So I can have my keys in a public repository, and no one can see them, because it's just a bunch of gobbledygook. But it also shows you, like, all the steps that it did. Like, it ran apt-get, and It did like, yeah, it did, yeah, like run bundler. And then, yeah, you can also just look at the massive dump. One tiny, really convenient thing, show newest log first. It'll actually stream as it's building, so you can just watch the new stuff as it pops up at the top. Yeah, it's something I've really liked. Yeah. So you don't have to like keep scrolling down. Cloud Repo, it's where my instances are, or sorry, where my images are, and they just get dumped in there. Yep. Yeah. You can access this via any authenticated API. Like I have it set up to be able, my local instance, like Docker can just pull from this because I've authenticated. But that's pretty much the demo. It walks through a couple of things. Like I have it, you're not going to be able to read that, but like in the App Engine config in here, under App Engine, like I have it set up to just pull the image, like build from my latest app build, and then pull it in, run it, and cloud. Like I just do GCP Google Cloud app deploy in my command line, and it just does it. And that's the demo. Any questions? I've been working in GCP for about 2 years, professionally, about 20 months in anger. Yeah. I don't know. We moved from AWS to this, and we've been happy. Dev team's been happy. Yeah. And like the execs are happy because the bill went down. And somewhere on the cloud website, there's a calculator, and you can just say, I'm this many instances of this size, this storage, with this network connectivity, all of this other stuff, and it'll give you an estimate, and it'll give you like your monthly bill. And then, yeah.
Do you have any idea of the cost relative to other cloud platforms? So if I just tell me what you know about the cost structure.
It's a little bit weird to wrap, like their cost structure is a little bit weird to wrap your head around just because they bill you for each thing. But it is competitive with AWS and Azure. I know that much. Like the last time they did a price drop, AWS and Azure had to do a price drop as well to stay within the same price range.
And the GCP is definitely a lot more granular in how they charge. So it's so AWS is thinking 15 minutes or 30 minutes. So if you're in the 30-minute block, you're gonna get charged. GCP is up to the minute. So you use it for 4.3 minutes, charge for 4.3 minutes, not 4.5 minutes.
Other questions for Thomas? I'll ask one last question. Anyone else has a question? Which is, what's its greatest strength and its greatest weakness?
Its greatest strength, I would have to say the flexibility and speed. Like I can just make it do whatever I want quickly via the interface. I don't have to stitch 14 services together. I just go in, I find a thing. If I need to stitch things together, they have a way of doing that via PubSub to just like link various services. Somewhere on the internet, there's a graph of like what services interact with which services via PubSub and how to do that. And it's all very quick and easy. Like the log exporter I set up to pump over to Elk in Kibana, that took me maybe an hour, and I was also including the time it took me to figure out how to do it. And that was from, hey, we need to do a thing, to, hey, look, we've got nice graphs coming, we've got nice log entries coming out in Elk.
Weakness?
Weakness, some of the features seem a little half-baked. Like Stackdriver isn't as reliable as we'd like it to be. With my client right now, we use a different monitoring solution. We have something set up through Elk, like our own dashboards, and some monitoring set up in that, actually. We don't use Stackdriver directly. And possibly getting a hold of support if you don't actually have a support contract. They get back to you eventually, but about 24 hours.
Final question for Thomas? If not, join me in thanking Thomas. Dinesh.
Right. I'm gonna
Go ahead, Thomas.
I'm gonna go ahead and post the slides into the meetup. So if you guys want to look, there's links in there and everything on what to get access, how to access everything.
Does everyone have your contact information?
What?
Your screen was on the last slide.
Oh yeah, sorry. Thomas@waderick.com or KC8ZPQ on Twitter.
That's hard.
It is harder. Yeah, I could.
Hey, do this. All right, post your contact information as a comment to this meeting, and then
Sounds good.
everyone gets notified. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.